All right, I believe we are going live. I'm going to wait to see how we're doing on my other monitor here, giving it a chance to get started. Let me add something inside the chat. All right, add. Okay, and I should be able to pin this chat. Still not showing on my end.
Yep.
We see it over here.
I see it.
Mhm.
We're here. All right, let me see if I could pin this really quick. Maybe. Oh, they're not giving me the option. Okay, I see us. We are live. What is going on? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Doing well. Doing
8
well.
a.m. here.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. Got your coffee?
Yep. Yeah, I just had coffee, so I'm letting my system clear it out.
We're good.
You know, I was this close to getting coffee, but bedtime is like in an hour for me. So I
Yep.
was like, I was really close to making a cup. I'm like, let's just do it and not sleep tonight. But then I thought
Yep.
about tomorrow.
I stopped caffeine around 4 or 5. I can't go any later than that now that I'm getting older. I used to be able to drink coffee at like 10 o'clock at night and go straight to sleep. I couldn't do that anymore.
Not anymore.
The good days, right? Just coding late at night, just
Mhm.
drinking away, like building websites like at 1 a.m. with a cup of coffee, and then being able to sleep in the next day till the afternoon.
Yep, that's been a long time.
Being able to actually go to sleep, yeah.
All right. It looks like I can't pin this, but it's all good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, for everybody watching, let us know who you are. Say something. Put something inside the chat so we know there's somebody here. Also, it would be awesome for anybody watching right now to let us know if our sounds are sounding okay. Does my sound good? Does Mark's? Does
Yeah, did we sound all right?
Barbara's?
Yeah, let's see. Yep.
If any of us is
We should
too
be.
loud or too low, it would be awesome to let us know. And we're going to finish getting everything set up and going, and we're going to kick everything off in about just 2 minutes from now. All right. Hassan, how are you doing, man? I am doing well. How are you doing? Awesome. Switzerland's in the house. Denver, Joel, what's going on, Joel? Lytbox
Denver,
Pro
yes.
is in the house. Okay.
Mhm.
Joel gave us the audio good. All good check. I guess this is just a good time to go ahead and kick it off. You guys ready to jump
Cool.
in?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so I am excited for this one. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I know this was in the works, but I'm so glad to have you both here. And we are going to have an awesome conversation. I'm definitely looking forward to it. First, I just want to introduce you both. You might know Mark as one of our in our little podcast group that we've been doing, the creators group. Mark is here with Barbara, both of Wicky Design. And really quick, before I turn the mic over to them, everybody just go into the description of this live stream or this video. If you're watching a replay, go check out their channel. They got some phenomenal content. You can learn a lot of things, especially if you want to learn web design, you want to learn Elementor, Crocoblock, and all kinds of other things actually related to it. So definitely check it out. There's a link inside there. Go give them a look. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over for you guys to introduce yourselves.
Sweet. You want to go?
I will go first. I'm Barbara. Been running Wicky Design for 11 years now. I started in a small business background, working for different small businesses, and got tired of that. As I told Jeff before we started the call, I got tired of making other people rich. So we started Wicky Design 11 years ago, something that I'm really proud of. So
Yeah. And I was still working full time when she started doing like Wicky Design like full time. I was still working at an engineering company doing websites and 3D animation. So I was able to quit my job. I always forget the date. Was it 2018 or 2019?
18.
18, yeah. So I was able to quit then go full time doing Wiki. So I've been all in since like 2018. So that's where we're at now. And I've kind of transitioned over into creating like a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, which I didn't really think I was going to go into that route, but here we are. I'm able to do a lot more videos these days. So this year we're going to be doing a lot more like live streams and YouTube tutorials. That's kind of what we're aiming for this year. Yeah.
Awesome. And Barbara, I just got to say, I love that phrase right there. That should be like the slogan right there. I started building a website because I was tired of making other people rich. Like that right there is
anything.
yeah.
Anybody that's starting a business, they start it because most of the time they were working for someone else and got tired of it.
Right. I remember my old manager. I'm so grateful he was so terrible,
Yeah.
Sometimes we
Oh, I
need that.
had some really bad ones. I've been through quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
remember my old manager, older guy. He served in Vietnam, and I remember him telling me, "Web is just a fab." Like he didn't think that making websites was going to be like a real thing. So I'm like, here we are. It's still going. The websites are still going online. Yep.
Oh, man, classic. Yeah, I heard that about computers when I was a kid, but that also shows my age too.
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
well, last week we had a call, and I was just super interested with it because you guys were describing how you had a really good year, and you started doing white label work, and you found a lot of success in it. And that really piques my interest a lot because I feel like there's so much opportunity when it comes to white labeling for both the web designers and developers, but then also for agencies and freelancers. And just a couple weeks ago, I was on a call with one of our pro members in the Lytbox community. And when we're in the call, we're talking about the opportunities. And one thing I wanted to learn is what opportunities did he have to get more growth, reach more clients, just build his business up. And because, of his location, the opportunity of just going out finding local clients wasn't there. But getting to know him right away, I saw, dude, you have massive opportunity if you were to white label for other agencies because agencies need good people they could depend on. And there is a lot of room. And I feel like there is a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. So in this live stream, what I really want to cover, which I think is going to add a whole lot of value, uh, is the opportunity, how to get started, what to do, what kind of pitfalls to avoid, how to be more efficient as somebody who is white labeling. Because I think a lot of people are going to be interested in, or they're already doing it and going through a lot of challenges and pain points. And then also for the freelancers and agencies out there that are overwhelmed, trying to do all the work themselves and have, a lot of things holding them back from hiring others, how white labeling could be such a valuable resource into them growing their business, but also having more free time in their life. We're going to dive right into it. But first, for everybody watching, I can see already the chats are going. And sometimes some of our chats, they really start to fly, which is awesome. I do want to be able to get to everybody's questions here. So if anybody has a question for Mark, Barbara, or myself, start your question with a hashtag question because I'm going to be really just engaged in the conversation. And when I go through looking for questions, I'm just going to skim through this time and see where that question is. So with that, let's go ahead and kick it off. And I wanted to go ahead and just get started with asking, how did you get started white labeling?
You want to take this one?
I think it was something that we kind of always was interested in. And when I first started Wicky Design, a big part of growing the business was networking and meeting other people, maybe in similar fields or, doing web design, whatever it was, just getting out there and saying, this is who we are, this is what we can do. And that's really how it started. We just made relationships with people through networking, and people were like, hey, you know, I have a couple projects that I need help with, and it kind of just grew from there.
I would say maybe that first started, would you say, like when we were working, we used to work a lot more with graphic designers and, you know, people doing UX design where they're designing websites for people, but they needed like a developer. So that was kind of like our first exposure to actually being white labeling. And then we were like, oh, this is nice. We actually don't have to talk with the client. We just talk with you. And then, so yeah, that's kind of, I would say, the very first exposure. And that was pretty early on. I would say in the first couple years of starting our business, we started getting those type of relationships with graphic designers.
Yeah, it really, it stemmed from just getting out and just making relationships with people, doing a lot of networking.
Was there a point where you were working with your own clients, but then you felt like you wanted to do more white labeling instead of direct client work?
Yeah, I mean, I loved working with good people that were like, hey, we have, you know, a few projects that we can hand off to you. Can you help with? Like, to me, that was a lot easier. I think partly because when you're in a creative field, you kind of understand the challenges, so you can relate to people better. But when clients, you know, they don't always understand like the technical difficulties and just how things work. So it was nice to work with people that actually understood what goes into making a website. But we do both still. You know, we white label and we work directly with clients, and both have good and bad.
Yeah, going back to the networking, we were talking earlier before the call. You know, one of the common things is, how do we find clients? That's one of the biggest common challenges, and I'm sure anybody looking to white label their services is like, how to find them. And you know, like right before this call, I got that email that I shared with you guys about it. Is like, hey, I sent you an email before. Do you want us to do your SEO and all this stuff? And just like, this is not how, like, I'm just immediately goes into the trash, you know, like, because we get so many of them. And, you know, so I think there might be a lot of people struggling out there finding clients, trying these methods. What are your thoughts on that? And for anybody who is struggling, what suggestions or, you know, advice or direction would you give somebody who does want to build a network and start to build some partnerships with agencies and freelancers?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, because I'm the one that kind of does more like the cold outreaching. I used to do it a lot more often. Yeah, it's hard. It's a numbers game, and it's not easy trying to do cold outreaching, especially for this. Because what I found is, if you're trying to cold outreach for, hey, can I be a partner with you? You have to find that company who needs that service and wants to use like the tools that you want to use, and you're contacting the right person. Like, the odds are really, really against you. So I've had very little luck with like cold outreaching for this type of service. But overall, it just takes a long time to get to a point where you could start to get these referrals. It's basically all referrals at this point. Would you agree? I don't know of any. I can't think of any like cold outreaching that actually worked for me. I'm trying to really think. I actually tried the other day and I got declined. So
yeah, cold outreach doesn't work. Like you said, you get emails all the time and they just end up in the trash. I probably get at least 5 a day. They all end up in the trash. What you need to do is actually build relationships with people, and that is a lot harder. But in the end, you're going to see long-term results. If you reach out to somebody, get to know them before you start pitching them a service, then they're more likely to say, yeah, I'll work with you because you seem like a good person.
And then one thing I'll also add too is we've had conversations with people about offering like white labeling services. And it doesn't happen overnight. So you could start a relationship with someone, and then let's say they're trying to get a roster of clients, you know, to be able to outsource stuff to you. It might take months, maybe even a year or something like that. So it's a long road. Like, for example, I can give you one. We're working with a stand-up comedian, and they want to start a whole network of like clean stand-up comedians. And we had a good conversation about, hey, if you start this whole like network of comedians that all want to like work together, we could be your web design agency that does all of the websites for all of the stand-up comedians. So that is a great example of it's not going to happen in 6 months or a year, but it might happen in 2 years. But then all of a sudden you're going to have like a roster of like 30 websites you're going to have all from this one connection. So
Yeah.
definitely it's a long game. I know it's not what people want to hear. People want to hear you could get this overnight and you're going to have all the success. We found with white labeling, it is a long game.
I don't even think it's just white labeling. I think it's just business in general. You have to be patient. You know, there's a lot of stuff online out there that says, you know, if you follow this method, you're going to get all of these clients overnight. You're going to make all this money. I think a lot of that is just not true. It's from our experience. You just got to hustle and put in the work and make those connections. So that could be going to in-person networking groups, joining Facebook groups. It could be doing what we're doing right now, which is getting on YouTube and live streaming or making videos. There's tons of different ways to do it, but you have to realize that it's not going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It reminds me of an analogy of the hunter and the farmer. Like the hunter is like, you know, the cold outreach guy that has to go out looking and just constantly on the hunt for the next one. But the farmer, they build their crop, they water it, they nurture it. And by doing that, it starts to provide, you know, fruits and vegetables. And as long as they keep tending that garden, it'll bring them abundance. You know, and then they also get more time to chill, you know, in it. And I know for ours, I was really surprised one year when I did all the numbers. Now I thought like, you know, the big projects were going to be, you know, what brought in the most revenue, but it was the long-term relationships and the ongoing work with clients. That's what brings in most of the revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we started our business, most of our clients have stayed with us the entire time, you know, and have built several websites with us. So if you're nurturing those relationships and making sure that you're providing a really good customer experience, they're going to keep coming back and they're going to tell their friends and family members, hey, these are good people to work with. So that's a super important part of running a business is you got to make sure that that client is happy and the experience they have is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, whenever you're working with a freelancer or an agency, and you're doing some white label work, and let's say like their processes aren't really like dialed in yet, like they haven't worked on that part in their business. I'm sure you've ran across that where some were a bit challenging, a little spotty, you know, even like how some clients were. And we're all at that level at some point, you know, or most of us were. How do you help them become more efficient along, you know, in the middle of that process and trying to help them along the lines beyond just building the website for them? Or I guess my question is how to make it more efficient working with a disorganized agency.
We're, I think, very organized. We have a good process and we try to incorporate that in everything that we do, whether it's working directly with the client or white labeling. We like to say, you know, here are the tools that we like to use for project management. You know, this is just going to make things a lot easier. We just kind of make the decisions for them because most of the time people, in our experience, enjoy the fact that there's some organization and we can make their lives easier. So we'll just say we're going to put everything into this project management system. You're going to know exactly what we're working on. We're going to, you know, do it that way, and they're good with it. We've actually given some of these white label agencies like our scripts for emails and stuff so they can help them get content faster from their clients, stuff like that. Anything that we can do to just make the process go a little bit smoother, we'll offer. We don't like to hide our secrets or anything like that. We want to share it because it's going to help everybody get the project done faster, better. So
I would add to that, set your expectations, like make it very clear, like this is what you're going to get from us. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we expect from you. So that's a really important, if they don't have their processes down, get something in writing that's like, okay, we're going to deliver this, you're going to do this, because they don't have a process to tell you. You tell them this is what we are expecting.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then we're going to run into a problem. We'll figure it out. But yeah.
I like that. I like being very clear. This is what we need from you. Some of us need that. Some of us, like some of the agencies and freelancers, especially newer to hiring contractors, they need that. I know I did at one point. There was a time when I didn't have my stuff together. I didn't, I was trying to just figure this out. And what I've learned though through time is at the end of the day, we just want somebody who could do a really good job and we could rely on and depend on. But we have to do the same. I'm sure you'd expect the same from the freelancer agency owner, that they also got to do the same for you. How do you navigate a situation if, like, say the project does go off track, but it's an agency, like you're doing the project for the agency, but they go off track because they didn't manage that project correctly? Do you have any techniques or methods, or how do you handle that?
I always like to set dates. So if I need something from that agency, I say, okay, can I get this by Friday? And if they don't deliver it by Friday, I gently follow up and say, hey, I was expecting this content. Is there anything I can do to help you with it? And see what they say. If they just like completely ghost you, then you have to say, okay, well, now we're, weeks off of our schedule, so we're going to need to get paid for the time because we delivered our end, but, we're still waiting on things. So usually that gets people's butts in gear and they're like, all right, they want money now, so I got to deliver. So that I feel like is helpful, but just, again, making sure that you have that clear process usually keeps people on track. So if you don't define those expectations up front, then they're not going to know what to expect. So most of the time, if you say, this is what we want and this is by what date we need it, people are good with that. And if they're not, then they know what to expect. So,
and then depending on how you have everything, definitely, we always going to say this a lot, get everything in writing. So contracts. And what we've noticed when we do white labeling is it is a little bit more fluid with how much we're going to charge per client, how long things are going to take. So you could have your normal process for your normal websites, but you have to be a little more flexible with your white labeling. Like you can't just be like, we only do it this one specific way. You could be a little more flexible, but just make it very clear. It's like, okay, we're going to deliver this. And if you don't, meet the deadlines, or if you go completely out of scope, then we're just going to start charging like hourly. So once you start to say, oh, we're going to charge hourly, that starts to kick people's butt when it comes to like, oh, we actually get things under control, or it's going to get very expensive. So yeah, we kind of say that it's, you got to have an hourly rate or something if it goes off the rails.
Yeah. And just be very open up front. When you're building those relationships, I think it's good to state, like, this is how we work, this is what we like to do, and then the person that you're doing the work for can come back and say, that sounds good, or maybe we can make some adjustments, and then you kind of develop the process from there that works best for everyone.
That's an amazing point right there. I think that is so critical right there. It's kind of like, when you want to get in shape, you get a gym membership and you kind of start to go a little bit, but you start to slack off. But if you were to pay like $500 for a trainer for that month, you're going to be in there because you got somebody holding you accountable. You give yourself that accountability. And
Yeah.
definitely being crystal clear, like this is what we need this time. If not, it's going to cost more. And
Yeah.
like sort of imposing your own processes onto them. I believe that'll be very helpful for actually the agency and freelancer.
Yeah. And on the opposite end, you have to make sure that you're delivering, so you can set all these deadlines, set, all these project boundaries and stuff. But if you don't actually deliver on it, then that's going to be a problem. So you have to make sure that you're delivering what you asked for. So, if you want to have a good
Absolutely.
relationship with people, you have to hold up your end of the bargain.
Yeah. I could speak as someone who ran an agency and, and tried a lot of different hires, a lot of different outsources. It could be one of the most stressful situations when you do hire someone, you don't have that much budget. You're already, like just trying to get the business going. And then you're just praying that this contractor, this designer, developer comes through, but then you don't get the emails. The communication gets slow, stuff
Yeah.
falls behind. And I tell people this all the time. Like the challenge most designers, developers have is like, I can't find clients. I'm like, if you're good and you're that person that an agency, somebody who is doing good getting clients could just rely on, count on, they will do everything for you and they will want to stay with you. Like, I
Right.
always like my man Stefano, who worked with me for years, like that is like my dude right there. And I am so happy to constantly refer him to people because, when you get somebody like that, you become that person to them. Man, there's just so much opportunity. And yeah, so I kind of guess you guys did that. I could assume that because I know you both. I see what you do, creating content. You guys have been doing really well. How do you nurture those relationships and keep them growing? But then also, how do you keep yourselves from not falling into the employee trap? Where you're working for an agency for
Yep.
so many
Yeah.
projects and you build that awesome relationship. How do you keep your autonomy and your own individual freedom?
I'll jump in real quick and say that, yeah, we definitely learned that this year. We did the most white labeling this year, and we got completely like burned out. We took on too much. So the answer is it's going to take time to learn your limits. That's what you have to know, how far you can push something like white labeling and trying to like run your agency. So you got to learn what those limits are and then cut it off. Because what did we do? We were almost doing like two or three a
I was
week at one
doing
point.
3
I was like, this is way
websites
too
a week.
much. So yeah, learn that limit. Once you know that limit, stop. No, don't run yourself too thin. And then it's kind of a little bit of a different topic, but we don't have any experience with like outsourcing any of our services. So I don't know if doing like a white labeling service like us and then hiring someone else to take on extra work would even be a good idea. I wouldn't do that. That seems a little dangerous because then you're like white labeling, but then you're relying on someone else to deliver. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I've lost money that way.
Yeah.
I think to add to that, you have to set boundaries. And that's, again, part of creating a really streamlined process is setting boundaries. So you need to say, okay, love to work together. If you can only handle one project a month, say, okay, we're going to work on one project a month and we'll deliver that project, again, making sure that you're delivering these things on time as the white label person expects. But knowing your limits is so crucial because last year we did a lot of white labeling work. It was a lot of stress and we thought we could handle a lot more than we actually could. But you just got to know what you can handle, and
That takes time,
it's
though.
it's
Yeah.
okay too to say, this is too much work. Can we cut back? If you're doing a good job, the people that you're working for, they're probably going to be okay with it because they don't want to lose you. So be a good worker, make sure that you're delivering everything that you can, and people understand. Don't be afraid to be like, well, if I tell them that I need to work a little bit less because I'm getting overwhelmed, they're just going to drop me. That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And I can imagine if you don't say anything, you're like just doing amazing, for them. And you start to become like, you start to become like their rock that they're going to want more unless if you let them know your limitations, let them know, when you want your breaks and when you're taking time off, like, hey, I want to go to Thailand, kick it with Jeff for, a month. So, those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really important to just communicate. That's the key, I feel like, to any relationship. You just have to communicate what's going on. If you don't tell people that you're stressed and overwhelmed, they're not going to know, and they're going to be like, here's more work, and then you're like, like, I can't handle all of this. You just got to let people know.
But yeah, to kind of what you were saying originally, like, don't fall into the employee trap. Make sure that you're, as the white labeling, you're controlling the scheduling and when you can work on things. So don't let the agency tell you when you work, like, because there'd be times where we do travel a lot, and hey, I might want to finish up my work at 1 a.m. I never really do that anymore, but I don't let them control your schedule. Don't let them control all of these different things, because then you literally are an employee with no benefits. So yeah,
remember,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Always remember that you're in charge of your business. I think people forget that. When you run a business, you make the rules. So that applies to when you're working with people that you're white labeling for. You make the rules, you set the expectations, and you guys will come to an agreement that works for both of you.
I think this is phenomenal right here. I knew this was going to be just like, just so much value in this, because like I don't know about you. Like, do you feel that it would be easier talking and working with another agency or another freelancer versus another client? Like a client, like the dynamic's different, right? Do you feel like you can like speak differently? And but at the same time, from what I'm hearing you guys say, is you have to still run it like a business, have your own processes. So even though you're working with basically two different client types, you still have to work on those areas of the business. That's what I'm getting from it.
At the end of the day, you're still running a business, and you should treat it like a business. Just because you might be friends with this person that you're white labeling for doesn't mean that it's not a business transaction. At the end of the day, you're doing business with these people. You need to act professional. You need to have everything written down. Even if you're friends and you're going to give them a good deal or whatever, it still needs to be written down and professional.
I would add to that. I personally, and I think she agrees with me, we like working directly with the client. So we like to do agency work over like white labeling for one reason only, and that's because you don't have like a middleman. You don't have like a project manager that you have to go through. It's because we love working directly with the client, and they're like the decision maker. So the agency owner, is like, hey, I can make this decision right now. You don't have to go through 2 layers of people, whatever. So
yeah, it can. There's different challenges when you white label, and that is one of the challenges, is that there are more people in between the end user. But if you communicate and manage your expectations appropriately, it can work really well. So you just have to be good at communication. I think that's really the key.
What do you do when the agency comes back with like the worst type of mock-up that is done on Illustrator that has like the worst color palette, the weirdest type of fonts, and a logo that's about 500 pixels? How do you navigate that situation where this is not good, or it's not going to help their client?
we just bite the bullet and do it. We just do it from scratch. We're like,
sounds painful.
I go in the corner, cry for a little bit, and then I take a deep breath, and I'm like, all right, let's do this.
No, we take an hour walk to talk about it, and then we come back and we just do it. We're like, all right, we've literally done that. We're like, all right, let's take a walk and then let's come back and just do it. So in that case, I think just doing it, like literally, like she said, just do it, and then they're going to be okay with it in most cases because it's crap anyways. So whatever you're going to kick out is going to be much better. So yeah, I would say there has been a struggle where we have worked with like white labeling, and then they have another like design agency outside of your communication, and they want certain things done. So that can get challenging. There could be another layer to this where there is a design or marketing agency. It happens. It's not super often, but it can, and it's annoying.
Yeah, it's one thing I think that we've learned from doing a lot of these white labeling projects last year is you want to try to communicate with everyone involved in the project. So if there is like a designer that's doing mock-ups, you need to be able to talk to them to make sure that the designs that they're creating in XD or Figma or whatever are actually going to translate to what you develop. If there's some marketing person and they want to add all these different integrations, we got to make sure that we can actually do that. So you really need to like know who's working on what aspects of the project and all communicate together to make sure that it's going to work well. Otherwise, you get into a situation where people are like, well, I wanted, this box to animate or something. You're like, well, I didn't know that, like, and that's not going to be possible with the way you designed it, yada, yada, yada. Or you don't realize that the marketing person wants you to like integrate MailChimp forms into the site and stuff like that. So you just got to know. Otherwise, you're going to run into those delays that prevent you from getting paid and getting that project done.
And that really falls on the agency right there, and whoever's doing the project management for them.
Yeah, and
this is,
you realize not a lot of people are good at project management. So that's why sometimes I'm like, we got to step up and just make sure that we know what's going on, who's working on this project, so we can all communicate together.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is you get a project manager involved who doesn't understand at least how the fundamentals of websites work at all. Like that gets very challenging because they're letting the client like say, I want all this crap in it. But then you're like, that technically is not easy, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money to figure this out. We could do it, but it's going to cost you, a lot of money. So yeah, I that's another thing too, is think about if you're doing websites, white labeling, think about the hosting. That's one thing that most people overlook is who's going to be doing the hosting. So if we love to be in control of the hosting environment. So that's something to think about too, is you don't want to become like now someone's like tech support through white labeling. Like that's not a good situation either. So you have to think about like every single scenario when it comes to white labeling. And that's one of them.
Yeah. And like for us, we know how to do hosting. I feel like most people don't know how to do that. So that's another person that you might be talking to, the person that's going to host the website. So again, who's working on this project? You have to know the answers to these questions up front so that you can communicate and make sure that you're giving everybody what they need in order for this project to be successful.
Yeah, that's why it's so critical to have good project managers. Like it's so important. And, having someone who doesn't understand the fundamentals, at least the fundamentals and basics of how things work or have everything set up could lead a project into a disastrous situation. I definitely could see.
Absolutely.
And this is great for anybody who is running an agency or freelancing to start to learn, how to act, because you could get the best team, you could get the best designer, developer, you could get Wicky Design to come in and, go ahead and fulfill this and like really pull through. But if you don't have your stuff together, if you don't have your project management in line, it's going to be a struggle. It's still going to be headaches. And really, when we are hiring somebody and we're bringing on contractors and white label, like the whole point of it is to make our lives easier. As like somebody running an agency, we're supposed to, take the load off, make it easier. But yeah, I've been there. Like I just felt your pain right now with the project management thing, and then, I found like for me, finding a good project manager is hard. It's one of the
Yeah.
hardest things and probably one of the most expensive things to find if you do find somebody good. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
right now, if anything, if I just wanted to give up web design, just go into project management and could make a good living because it's so hard to
Yeah.
find that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why the agency owner, until you find it, you got to become a good project manager. You got to
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that leads me to this question: what is your ideal agency to work with? Can you describe like that perfect agency to work with? This way, anybody out here who is running an agency or wants to, they could see what they need to do to become that agency.
For white labeling, yeah, who you want to
Yeah,
partner
like
up with
well,
for
what?
white labeling? Yeah.
Yeah, well, who? Like, as somebody white labeling, like, if you were to like work with an agency, what would the
Mhm.
most ideal, perfect agency look like to you?
I'll jump in real quick. I think personally, I loved when we worked with other like graphic designers and UX designers because they took all the hard work of like the layout and then they just kind of hand off the website to us for development. So to me, that's my favorite is doing that because I could just do the development part, and they deal with all of that communication with the client. Because most of the time, getting the content and the layout is the worst or the hardest part about doing a web design project. All right, what were you gonna say? How'd you go?
Mm.
I think for me, it's really somebody that aligns with our values. You know, we work with small businesses, so to get somebody, another agency that also works with small businesses and has the same values that we have is really ideal because I want somebody that gets it, that understands the struggles of running a small business and what small business owners need. Um, when you're working for somebody that works with like huge corporations, it's a totally different ballgame. Corporations are not the same as, the guy running the pizza shop down the corner. So for us, I think that we want to stick with, the small guys. So if we can work with an agency that also works with small businesses, to me, that's ideal.
I'm glad you brought up values because that's also really important because there
Hmm.
are some shady agencies out there.
Absolutely.
They're just really taking advantage of small businesses and medium
Hmm.
sized businesses. So yeah, that's really important. What
It
are some of
is.
the red flags you look for?
Anyone that offers like every service. So like you're doing web
Ah.
design, graphic design, social media
SEO.
management, SEO, like you offer all these services, you not one agency can be good at everything. So that's a huge red flag. I want to work with people that focus on one thing and do that really well versus the agency that's like, we can do it all, because you can't.
For me, a technical aspect would be a huge red flag is if they host all of their client websites like on a really bad hosting environment, like a Bluehost, a WP Engine. I'll just keep naming off bad hosting companies. But if I see that, that's a huge red flag because that means that you're not investing in the right part because your hosting environment is one of your most important parts of your web design. And if you're just throwing all of your client websites on a $10 Bluehost environment, that's a red flag for me. Huge red flag. And we're actually thinking about, we've been in situations lately where we are having to build on these really bad servers, and we might change up our process and be like, we'll build the whole thing in our environment. We'll hand you the website, you deal with it. Because by us working on WP Engine, Bluehost, any of these, it slows us down a lot,
Yeah.
like a hell of a lot. It's 80% slower to work on one of these hosting environments. So that might be something we change up.
That would be a good
Another
move. I do
thing,
that right away.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Another thing, how many clients do you work with, and do you know their names? Like, are they just a number to you? Like, I want to build those relationships. I don't want to just churn out projects, so if an agency is just like, we have 20 projects, we don't even know what the business is about, who the names of the clients are, I don't want to work with people like that.
Yeah. Those tend to ask for a lot of templates, right? Just really quick,
Mm-hmm.
really quick,
Yeah.
just like a little
Yeah, like
factory.
turn and burn. That's not really how we like to work. We want to know the story of the business, the people behind it, so we can produce a good design for them. And there's so many agencies that are just like all about volume, and that's not what we're about. We might do a lot less work than some other agencies, but I feel like we do quality work and we get to know our clients, and then they come back to us for years to come.
Yeah. Those are some big red flags right there, some big ones. Any other ones? I know there's got to be like
There's so
I know
many of them. Yeah.
the hosting, like an agency should know what good hosting and bad hosting is. Like that should be a
Mhm.
given. They're referring, and I'll come out and say it too. Bluehost, HostGator,
Mhm.
like these
Yeah.
these are my red flags, like, wait, they set you up on HostGator for an
Yeah.
e-commerce website on a shared server? Like, they did you dirty. No,
Yeah.
or they just don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think they're just doing dirty. I want
I
to
think
They don't understand why it's
yeah.
important to actually spend a little
yeah.
bit of money, because you don't even have to spend a lot of money on good hosting. Like a VPS server isn't much more, like $30 a month. I'm like, they don't put the value of the hosting. That's like,
That's another red flag too. Professionals should use professional tools. That's what I always say. So if you're like using the free version of Elementor because you're too cheap to buy the pro version, and then you add like 40 plugins to the site to make it work,
that's a red flag.
that's a
Yeah.
huge red flag. Just buy the pro version.
Oh,
If you're like
yeah.
constantly like skimping on things and nickel and diming and worrying about like the cost of everything, I don't want to work with you. Like you're charging people to build a professional site. Use professional tools. That's what I always say. And like we've run into so many situations where we worked with clients where they came to us and they're like, "Yeah, I have a site that's built on Elementor," and you go in and it's like Elementor free version, and then they have 10 plugins, for the contact form, for the header and footer, and it's like you don't need all this stuff. This is why your site is running horribly. So that's a huge red flag to me. Like if you're a professional, you need to be acting like a professional and using professional tools and not nickel and diming clients.
Yeah, they're nickel and diming clients. I can only imagine they would nickel and dime you and other
Yeah.
Mhm.
contractors and everything
Yeah.
that they
Mhm.
do.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, another red flag is if they're trying to always haggle you with the price and the deadlines. Like that's a huge red flag. If they're trying to lowball you or they don't see the value in what you're offering, then
Mhm.
yeah, get out, because it's not getting
That's
paid is a big one. Yeah.
that's where your process from the start comes in too, This is the price we agreed to, and it's not going to change, but we're going to deliver quality work. So, if you get halfway through the project and they're like, well, actually, I thought it was going to be cheaper, it's like, no, we know what the
Mhm.
price is because we determined it from the start.
Yeah. And that's where the processes come in. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of the most important areas as so many web designers and developers need to focus on. And this is where the experience comes in, because there's something about when you know your processes, you work on them over and over and over, they become second nature. And when
Hmm.
you are explaining your processes, you explain them really clear, very fluently, they come out really quickly. You don't have to drag on to explain. It's like, this is a process A, B, and C. This is how much it costs. And when you get to that, I'm sure like, people are like, okay, that's how much it costs. But when you
Mhm.
don't know the process and so on, that's when you get those hagglers, and that's when you get
Yeah.
those people to take advantage. I'm sure I was taken advantage of. I've gone through it. I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
watching
We all
this,
have.
yeah, we've been through it, and this is just part of the experience. But I'm glad like all
Hmm.
this is being brought up, so everybody who is watching and learning right now can start to focus on this area to gain that experience. For
Yeah.
for somebody who is, let's say somebody is in their earlier years, like a web designer, developer, they're learning Elementor, they're getting somewhat decent, but they're struggling finding clients, and they want to start, like connecting with other agencies and freelancers to do white label contract work for them. What suggestions would you give to them as a good path to get started in that direction?
Networking groups can be really helpful. If that's not something that you can do, like if you can't go in person, build a portfolio of the type of clients that you want to work with. Just start doing projects. If you, let's say you want to work with, I don't know, you want to work on hair salon websites, build a bunch of websites for hair salons. Nobody cares if they're fake. They want to see the work that you can do. So just start working on the type of projects that you want to work on, and build that portfolio, because when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of work, so you can just create it. And then once you do that, maybe reach out to people that do that those types of projects that you want to work with, and say, hey, like, this is the type of work that I can create. Like, are you interested?
Yeah, I would say we've gotten a lot of good opportunities just from communicating with the client. So being on the phone with them, learning about their business, and then they're like, oh, we have all these other ideas. And so sometimes a normal client can almost turn into a white labeling. Like we've had that opportunity too, where it was kind of just going to be a simple website, but it's turned into more, like the comedian one I was telling you about.
Yeah.
We might be doing white labeling for this comedian because he wants to start a network, but that's because we started a communication. We started talking to him.
Yeah.
So I would say, so cold outreach isn't going to really have much benefit, like I said, but sometimes the longer you run your agency, you're going to start getting people who come in who are looking for more than just one website. They're looking for you to make 5 websites a year. So there are opportunities that people will come to you, which is kind of a unique situation. So you have to kind of be open to that. And like I said, have the communication, tell them, hey, instead of doing this one website, we know that you have these other ones that you're talking to, maybe we can do more. So yeah, it's all over the place when it comes to trying to get clients. I know that's like a thing I always hate, is like, just tell me how to get the clients. Just cold outreach, don't try it. Like, it's not fun to do the cold outreach. Like, I've tried so many times.
And I think that one thing I'll say is, like, focus. Don't try to like do everything. I know that there's a lot of people that are like, you got to be on every social network, and you got to do YouTube, you got to do networking groups, and you're going to burn yourself out really quickly if you do that. So focus on like 1 or 2 things at a time. So if you're going to try to build up your portfolio with specific projects, do that, and then maybe start some social media accounts and put some of those images up on social media. But don't be like, okay, I'm going to do that, do social media, do YouTube, do podcasts, because you're going to get so burned out, and it's going to just, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
And I would say put it out there that you offer
Yeah.
white labeling services. Like we don't have a dedicated page right now. We're thinking about it, but we put it out there a few times. Hey, we do white labeling, and people have seen our videos. So you got to kind of put it out in the universe, sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know.
But we don't do everything. Like we stick to doing YouTube, and basically that right now that's it. When we first started, we fell into the trap of like, you got to do everything, and we quickly realized that you spread yourself way too thin doing that. So that's my biggest advice, is to just focus on like 1 or 2 things at a time, and then you can shift to another thing. Like you're going to end up doing a lot of different things to get clients, and you'll figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to that thing of not how do you find clients, but how do clients find you? And I remember like when I was struggling, and I did an exercise for what was best for me to find clients, and it was the high-low chart, where you got the high-low, the high impact, low impact, difficulties, high and low. And at the time I was trying to find work off of Dribble, and I wanted to build up my Dribble account because I talked to another agency who was crushing it on Dribble. They were getting $40,000-$50,000 projects left and right, all from Dribble. So I'm like, that's it right there. So I started on, but then I was working that exercise, And Dribble is super, super hard, like really hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But there were other opportunities that were really easy for me. And for each
Mhm.
one of us are going to be different. But one
Yeah.
thing you brought up, Barbara, was building the portfolio. And I think
Mhm.
that I've heard this before, that other people doing white label are worried about their portfolio because you're
Mhm.
white labeling and that project is for the agency. So that goes on the
Mhm.
agency's website for their
Mhm.
portfolio.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
you could always talk to the agency and see if they're cool about it. Like,
Yeah.
I've been cool about it. Like, I never saw like it was a big deal. If I had a good
Mhm.
relationship with the person who worked with me, and
Mhm.
like they came in, they were awesome, they delivered, I want to see them succeed. If they didn't do
Right.
good, I was not happy. And yeah, no, that's not okay. I don't
Yeah.
want,
Mhm.
that's not good. You made me have a lot of sleepless nights. But at the same time, you just got to show what you could do. And like
Right.
creating those personal projects. So like for me,
Yeah.
when I'm trying to hire somebody, like I want to see where their skill level is at, what they could
Mhm.
Mhm.
deliver, because it doesn't matter how cool they are, how dedicated they are. Sometimes you got to deliver to a certain level with certain
Yeah.
agencies.
Yeah. So a good exercise that I did a couple years ago that I think directly leads into what you're talking about is in 2 years ago in December, we weren't super busy, so I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself to design a logo every day. I'll
Okay.
take 1 hour, that's all I have, and I'm just gonna see what I come up with. And I recorded that and I posted those on TikTok and LinkedIn, and people were like, this is so cool. I love watching these videos. And then we actually ended up getting a couple jobs from that because you're just showing up in people's feeds. You're showing what can be done, and they're like, "Well, this is the person for the job."
That's called being the Emron. Emron does that. Just show up. He said that.
But I mean, it works. I can't
Yeah.
do 5 videos and 3 live streams and all the other stuff that Emron does every day. I don't know how. I think he's a robot, but I if you have some free time, and one, it's good practice as a designer
Mhm.
to actually practice your craft, and I got pretty good by the end of it at making these things a lot faster. So you're practicing your craft and you're showcasing the work that you can do. Now, all of these were not real companies, but again, nobody cares. They want to see how creative you can be, what you can produce, and at the end of the day, they're not like, "Oh, well, that's a fake company. They're not going to work with me. I'm not going to work with
Yeah,
somebody
because
that designs for fake companies." They don't
Mhm.
care.
Yeah.
It's design.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you were doing logos for like a bakery and it comes up in someone's feed and they run
Yeah.
a bakery, they're like, oh, I came across that. Oh, you do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you live here in the Philadelphia area. So there's a lot of like
Mhm.
things that you can snap people in. And yeah, I think saying where you're located, that's been a big thing for us too, because people like that we're local. Like some people might want to hire more local talent. So we do make it pretty clear that we're from the Philadelphia area. So that's helped us gain some good clients and white labeling opportunities too. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I think that, in certain other parts, like other regions in the world where the economies like aren't,
Mhm.
like the same as the US, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, like where
Mhm.
they don't have like local markets,
Mhm.
that would be interested in it. But you have a lot of agencies and freelancers that are
Yeah.
still bootstrapping, that are
Mhm.
still
Yeah.
trying to get started. And they're trying to, like, it's a scary thing, like in those transitional periods. And like I live in Thailand, so I don't have to charge top rate. I got an advantage,
Mhm.
like it's just different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I don't have to. So there's advantages to like both sides of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
uh
And the good thing about the internet is it's worldwide. So it doesn't matter where you live. You can put your stuff online and somebody from across the world could see it.
I truly believe there's so much opportunity for anybody who is
Yeah.
willing to go out, have the integrity to like really just, work with values and just dedicate themselves. And, even if we're not marketing specialists, you said we got the internet. You could scream from
Mhm.
the mountains of Facebook and let
Yeah.
everybody know this is what I do. Here's what I created. And I'm
Mhm.
always so surprised when I lurk in Facebook profiles. Like I inspect everybody's profile and I always want to see, are you showing us that you design websites? Is there a link to a website? Your portfolio. Are you sharing this is what you do? Okay, you're struggling getting clients. You're like scared of not being able to pay rent, but you're not letting anybody know this is how you could help them.
Oh
And
yeah.
for most of us, our clients are right around us. We just got to let them
Mhm.
know that we could
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's room for everyone. That's what I always say. Like this whole we have to compete with all the other agencies. That's stupid. Why don't we work together and then we can make better content for our
I know.
customers?
And like what we're doing, like with our, WP creator, it's cool because people have found us through there and we've gotten work through it. So yeah.
And we're all learning from each other too.
And look, I see. So Emron has confirmed he is a robot. He's in the chat here.
I
I knew
knew
it.
it. I knew he would be here too. You see,
Just
that's
pull
that's
off your
how
mask. Pull off your mask and run. Show us that you're like the Terminator.
He was the first AI avatar out there.
that's how ubiquitous he is. He's just everywhere.
You know what? He's a
That's
plant from
man.
Elementor. Elementor. This is Elementor AI actually working correctly.
Oh my gosh.
This is
I'd have to
actually.
say that plaque he got, if anybody deserved one, man, that
Oh
man
God, I know.
deserved that
Well, like
plaque.
we have. This is
tenfold,
what
man.
YouTube. We've gotten these two things from
I
YouTube.
saw
This is a light up
that.
thing, and then this is like a Lego thing. That's all we got. We got nothing.
We'll
It's
get
better
the
than
plaque
nothing.
eventually.
All right, I'm going to start going into the questions now. So we got the first one. This is a big one right here. What's the future of web development?
Oh
What you
boy.
think?
That's like asking what the future of the world is. Who knows?
I personally, we've been in this game since like the beginning. I would say this is the most uncertain I've felt about the web development industry, just because everything's moving so fast with AI and how easy things are. But I still think that businesses are still going to want a unique, professional looking website. So there's still going to be a need for it. What I'm noticing definitely is people are putting less value on how much websites cost. It's not going up, in my opinion, it's going down, which is why we're starting to think about we're doing subscription based because we're kind of adjusting to how people's mindsets are thinking. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that you're right in saying that there's less people are valuing websites less, but then they realize that they actually need somebody that knows what they're doing if they want to be successful. So that's kind of been the story from the start is we're not people's first choice, we're their final choice. They get burned by somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. They spend a lot of money and they don't get what they wanted, and then they come to us. So they're valuing people that know their stuff and can provide them an all-in-one solution. So I think that as an agency, you need to really showcase the value that you bring to your clients. You're not just, picking a template from Theme Forest, installing it, and that's it. Like you need to provide kind of like an all-in-one solution.
Yeah, definitely. Got to find more ways to add value.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key right now. We can't just continue
Yeah.
doing the same thing over and over. The industry is changing. And if you are
Yeah.
just focused on development, like just being a developer, you either got to start going outside of the box, finding ways you can
Mhm.
add more, or get very specialized in a certain code framework, something that is
Yeah.
very high level that makes your
Mhm.
value high. Because I think like that is one of the areas like AI is going to definitely disrupt, and it's going
Mhm.
to be for more of the mediocre levels of development.
That's why
Mhm.
I would say we're pushing and we're focusing a lot more on the hosting environment. Like we almost want to be a hosting company first, then the website. Like we're starting to transition into that because not a lot of people put a value on how important it is to have like a good server admin who, if something happens to your website at 2 a.m., what are you going to do as an agency owner? Are you going to know what to do? No. So that's why I want to put that value. We have like decades of experience doing hosting. So that's where I want to focus, definitely. And then you could get long-term relationships that way and the recurring revenue. So it's kind of like a win-win across the board.
Yeah, I think that you really need to, like you said, either focus on something super specific and get really good at it, or figure out all the ways that you can bring immense value to your clients, because people are looking at things like Wix and Squarespace. We're like, oh, it's so easy, I can just do it myself. And then they realize they can't, but they want somebody that can do a really good job. So if you're not doing a good job, you're just installing a template and you're not communicating with the client, and it's just not a good experience. They're not going to want to work with you.
One place I recommend checking out is on Reddit. There's a lot of good forums. Go on the small business subreddit. You're going to get a lot of good information of how other small businesses think. And I've had conversations with people, and they're like, how much does a website cost, or whatever it may be. And literally, this is why I'm saying I think I'm seeing a shift. People are just thinking that Wix and Squarespace, all those websites are just $20 a month. That's it. They don't understand that, like, oh, if you want advanced functionality, you have to pay someone to do that, or if you don't know design. So look around where other people are talking. In our case, we work small businesses, so I like to go in and like learn what people are asking, and then have conversations with these people, because I was like, where do you value? Why do you put that value on there? And she's like, oh, because I see it over here. This is how much it costs for a website. So
yeah, people
it's a good
don't
perspective.
Understand anything like that goes, all the stuff that goes into it.
All right, Rukshan asks, I hope I got it right, man. I try my best. All right, what is your opinion about starting a SaaS business? Ooh, who wants to take that?
Oh boy, we don't really have much input on that because we don't really work starting a SaaS business. But
I mean, if you think that there's a need for it, go for it.
I'm trying to think. We had an old friend of ours, I remember, from WordCamp. He started a SaaS product. It works really well. I don't know. The only thing that I learned off of him, because we don't really talk that much anymore, but I learned a lot from like how you price things, definitely with a SaaS. The one thing that he said he learned the most was, if you have a SaaS product, make sure that like you give people like the free version, or not the free version, give someone full access to your software in full for like 30 days, and then start charging them. Like, don't do like 7-day trials. Don't do like, oh, half up front. So that's one thing I learned, is just the pricing is an important thing. I don't know. I'm kind of going off topic on that. I don't really have a great answer for that.
Pricing is important. Pricing will tank you if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
So pricing is the one thing that I learned from him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you feel like there's a need for it, then go for it. That's how I am with like any business. If there's a need for it and somebody is willing to buy it, do it. Because
does it fill a need? Does it fill a need? Does it make sense? And are you going to solve the problems? There's so much that goes into that, to starting a SaaS. Definitely do your research. Don't get stuck. If you do see like opportunity like this, there's a big need that this is going to solve. Like read The $1 Million Weekend by the dude from AppSumo. That one is pretty good about getting started on stuff like that. So yeah, just do your due diligence. It all depends on what the SaaS business is. I don't want to see another AI writing tool though, if that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. If doesn't fill a need, is it needed in this in this space? I mean, that can be for literally any business that you start. Doesn't have to be a SaaS business.
It's got to fill a need. And I got a buddy, another pro group member, who I have to like, it's not out there yet, but this dude has built something amazing for us web designers that definitely fills a need, and I can't wait to see that come out. So there's definitely opportunity out there. It's all about, does it fill a need? Does it make sense? Can you deliver on it? Veronica asks, for those of us that provide the whole strategy, design, development, project package, the typical fit for such partnership would be? fill in the blanks.
So when you say you provide everything, does that mean like you're providing like photography, video, like, because those are great partnerships that we've developed, because we're not photographers, we're not videographers, but people need that for their website. So reach out to people like that. If you are providing those services, then maybe you need to, like, you can partner with like editors or something. There's opportunities. You just have to, I guess, evaluate like the services you're offering.
Let me see. So that's like this. So she's saying she offers everything. So yeah, I mean, that could be a point where you start to try to go after big contracts, like almost like government stuff, where it's like you're working
Yeah.
on, I'm not a fan of RFPs or anything along those lines, but there are opportunities where there could be like a state program that needs a whole full service company to do a bunch of services for certain industries or something. So that could be a sector that you look into, that type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
That's a really hard thing to find, somebody who is qualified in all three of these areas. And I
Yeah.
know some agencies that provide these, and it's really hard, especially when you get to the strategy part. That part's difficult. Like the design and
Mm-hmm.
development, you could pretty much break up. You could go ahead and hire somebody who is specifically really good at creating Figma mockups. You could hire a development team that could execute on those mockups and just bring them to life. But the whole package, the strategy, you would need to work with, if you are wanting to white label your services, then you would want to, I would say, look at branding agencies, some of these branding
Yeah.
agencies where they do take on projects, and their projects are typically 40, 50 thousand starting off, those
Mm-hmm.
projects. And I know they're, if you could deliver, a lot of them would love to find talent that could deliver in those areas. But if you are running an agency and looking for that, for somebody to deliver in this area, you'll need to get projects that are 40, 50, 60 on up, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying that there was more to that question, so I'm just seeing
Oh,
in this
that's
chat.
what it is. Okay. I thought it was like fill in the gaps.
Yeah. I
Okay,
hate
so
being
it's
put on
more.
the spot. All right. So what does
Okay.
that say? I think of any. Okay.
Marketing, SEO.
Yeah. So she
Definitely.
mentioned here, editors and copywriters, a good one to partner with. I wouldn't partner with SEO agencies. I have a very hate relationship with SEO agencies right now. Marketing's always a good one for sure. But
Just partner with us, man. We'll come
yeah,
and
there
do
you
your
go.
SEO. We got you. Get you some
Copywriters is going to
backlinks,
be.
$10.
Oh God,
Oh my
yeah. I had one
gosh.
the other day. He wanted to sell me 50,000 backlinks, and I was like, "Hey, watch my latest video on why I don't work with SEO companies yet."
That's cruel, man. But
So yeah, editors and
go on.
copywriters I see you have here. Copywriters, we used to partner with copywriters a lot more, but they've all gone away basically because of AI. Like they all had to go work full time for someone now. So finding independent, like freelance copywriters is
They're still
becoming
out there.
pretty rare.
They're
And
still
same thing
out
with
there.
graphic designers too.
I would say, you know, I would say start smaller and work the way up, because trying to get like somebody that can handle all this stuff, I think is going to opens up a can of just some really messy
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It's very risky. Anytime,
Yeah.
and right now I'm just guessing that you are hiring, that you're looking for hiring somebody to do all this stuff. It's so risky hiring, and you have to like start small. So trying to
Mm-hmm.
jump big without,
Yeah.
it's like, especially the SEO agencies, you got to find somebody you trust, they're really going to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing too, like those are relationships that take a while to really build before turning it over.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Design and development, that is the easiest to outsource. It really is.
Mhm.
It's, you get your processes
Yeah.
in place, you know how to manage a client, manage a project. It becomes pretty system. It becomes not as difficult. All right, Adriana, a question: do you take a deposit before you start the work? Good question.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
yes,
yes.
yes, yes,
Always.
How
Don't
much
ever.
always.
percentage wise?
We do half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be a little more flexible. So if they are giving you a lot of work, you can do it where it's like, if you know you're going to get stuff done really quick, you could also just ask for it all up front or maybe right at the end. Like if it's a good relationship, you can push it toward the end. But when you're first starting with someone, definitely 50% minimum, because yeah, you don't want to get into a situation where you work on something and it just sits forever and you got nothing to show for it. You got no money.
Yeah. Just like with the client.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? For me, I'm upfront on everything. Like not
Yeah.
100% upfront, but I've learned that late payments, issues around payments, those keep me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will lose sleep, but then when I lose sleep, I am not productive. And
Yeah.
then resentment starts to form, our relationship starts to get tainted. So I find
Mm-hmm.
that, this is for both of us. This is for both of us to
Mm-hmm.
continue to have a good relationship and a good project.
Mm-hmm.
50% upfront, after the design, 25%. And then when we finish a certain portion of the development, the other 25%. And
Mm-hmm.
we just keep it like that. I don't wait till the very end anymore, because when you wait to get that payment at the end of the project,
Oh yeah. You
yeah.
could also experiment. We did this for a little while, especially during the COVID days. You could do buckets of hours, so you can have clients buy 100 hours, 20 hours, 50 hours, whatever it may be. That's an option too. That way you get all the money up front, and then so I don't know. We don't do that often anymore, but that was something that we did offer for a while, like buckets of
We did that
hours.
with retainers. We called it retainers, and it was like sold packages, and it was just for quick
Uh-huh.
turnaround work, just for
Yeah.
like updates to the site. But also that very last payment, I learned to keep that last payment as something I could walk away with. I could lose
Mhm.
and not
Mm-hmm.
lose
Yeah.
sleep, not lose my home or my car or anything. Like if I lose that
Mm-hmm.
last payment, it doesn't come through, I'll
Yeah.
still be okay. So yeah. Okay, Veronica asked another question. What is considered good pricing strategy here? Let's say charging $3,000 per project normally. What would be okay? It got cut off, but it says what would be a healthy yet attractive discount to offer to a white label client?
My first approach would be how much work are they going to give you, this, and then you can kind of figure out the discount from there. A lot of times, what we'll do is we'll actually figure out, like, on average how long is each project going to take, and then just do your hourly rate from there. So
Mm-hmm.
our hourly rate, $75 an hour, we've never really changed it, and we feel really comfortable doing that. So if we could get the project done in 20 hours, 20 times 75, do something like that. Definitely, we don't discount where it goes below like our hourly rate, if that makes sense. So we're never going to discount ourselves so much that we're making $10 an hour, $20 an hour.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We kind of have, so my answer would be have like your cutoff for your hourly rate and just figure out how many hours it's going to take. That's usually what we do for white labeling.
Be careful with discounting your services, because then you start to turn into an employee. If you're only charging $15 an hour at the end of the day because you discounted so much, then that white label client just got a cheap employee. So make sure you're valuing your work and you're charging appropriately for it.
Yeah, I agree. I would avoid discounting or like
Mm-hmm.
thinking about discounting. Charge
Yeah,
your rate. I would stick
Mhm.
with your
exactly.
rate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Be very, very firm with that too. Cause yeah,
Mm-hmm.
once you start to get flexible with that, you're like, oh, well, I can give this person 25%
Yeah.
lower rate. This one gets 10%. It gets out of control real quick. Yeah.
It turns into you're an employee for this person and they don't have to provide you with any benefits. That you're just cheap labor.
Really good one. Joelle, okay, can you guys share what project management tools you use? That's a fun one.
We use Freedcamp and Dubsado.
Huh.
Yeah. Dubsado is like our
Oh.
CRM. And then, yeah, we keep it very basic because we've learned with, was it Asani? There's some other ones. They're too complicated. Like Freedcamp is our favorite one because we could just assign the task. The client will get the emails and then we can respond through emails or through the system. We found that that's the easiest one. We've
Mm-hmm.
tried a lot of them, but yeah, FreeCamp is our favorite one for sure.
Okay, I'm a Notion and Slack guy myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't tried Notion yet. No, I know there's so many out there.
There's so many different ones out there. You just have to find what works.
All right, Lisa asks, what tools do you recommend to schedule and communicate to keep the project on track? I guess that goes back to our project management tools, right?
FreeCamp.
Yeah, that
FreeCamp
one.
works really well because you can set deadlines in it. They have a calendar in there. I think it's a really great tool.
It's like less cluttered than the other ones.
Yeah,
a lot of them are very cluttered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I used to have like 5, 6, 7 different tools. Then just try to, if you could just use one, maybe two.
Oh yeah,
I think that is best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. New question. Okay, didn't have the question pound sign, but it's all good. What is the difference between the white label business versus the usual business web business service? Do you want to answer? I mean, that's a pretty. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barbara.
So when you're white labeling, you're working for like other web design agencies, or like a graphic design agency or something. You're working for another agency versus when you just run your agency, you're going out and directly reaching out to clients.
Yeah, and the client should have no idea that you built the website. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of like a ghost, behind the scenes. Like
you're behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just kind of like scrolling through, marking the questions so we don't miss them. But it looks like we almost got them all.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some good ones in there. Yeah, overall, 2025 is going to be an interesting year because, the web development industry is definitely, I've seen a lot of changes just in the past year or two. So it's going to be interesting to navigate this landscape for sure.
Oh, it's fun. It's going to be a fun time for sure. Okay, so this is official. Imran has confirmed he is a robot running on Pepsi Max fluids.
you can't. No human can do that much. I don't know.
Really though, Pepsi Max.
Dude, I thought it was no good drinking just water. I mean, I'm having chaga tea, trying to be healthy and stuff. I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I just need to start pounding Pepsi Max like crazy.
He's trying to get that sponsor.
I know he really is trying to get a Pepsi Max sponsor. I think.
Hey, if anyone's going to get it, question for Wicky Design: if there is time, what would be a USP for selling hosting services? Like, wouldn't people just go for the usual hostinger, etc.? Okay, I got cut off. Since they are promoted so well, and the USP is the unique selling point. That's a good question.
So
why would people go with you instead of hostinger?
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea how to set up a server, and they don't know what SSL means and all of these terms. They don't understand it. And for us, like in our clients, they're like, I just want somebody to handle all of it that knows what they're doing.
Like there's so many things that happen at the server level. Like, okay, your SSL expires at 3 a.m. What do you do? Oh, there's a bot attack on your server. What do you do? Like, you got to have someone who is in control of that, because your hosting company isn't going to give a crap.
Especially if your SSL, those hosting companies.
Like if your SSL certificate expires, do you think you're going to get your website up and running anytime soon? But if you have a server admin, they're on top of that. They're going to get an alert. So yeah, that good backups. Like we have a completely dedicated backup system. So our hosting company backs up, which is like our last resort. But I also have a whole other server that all of our things, all of our websites go to. So there's a lot of services that you should go with if you're hiring a server admin. You should be getting like backups like that, security. I literally, next to my phone, I get an alert when the server goes down, if anything happens. And it's happened. We were driving in the middle of Colorado one time. Server went down for a minute. I stopped the car. I was at a gas station. I was trying to figure out what the hell happened. It was just a false positive. But if you're on vacation, like, are you going to want to deal with that? No. So. Yeah, there's a lot.
Teet is a new freelancer and wants to start building websites. What tool to recommend? Elementor, Gutenberg, or Bricks?
We use Elementor, but the tool doesn't matter. whatever you're most comfortable with using, whatever you can get good at. And the client doesn't care. Most clients really don't care what tool you're using because they just want a website.
I would say in that situation, it kind of does matter a little bit, because what are you going to do with your website afterwards? So in our example, what we do is we only create on Elementor because we like to create good training videos on how you can update your website. Mm-hmm. So there is no way in the current day I would ever make a Gutenberg website, hand it off to a client and be like, hey, update everything here in the header. I don't even know where the hell that stuff is. So it depends on what you're going to do with your website.
Yeah.
In our case, we like to train people. But if you are going to do all the updates or anything like that, then Bricks is fine. Yeah, Bricks is fine. Like I'm on that fence right now where I would use Bricks for like a personal website if I wasn't giving it to a client, but stick with Elementor for client websites. And we're actually, there's a little plug right here. We're going to do a whole live stream on Friday about why we're sticking with Elementor. So if you're interested in maybe some key points on why we've been with Elementor since 2017, we're not switching in 2025. So I know that's like a big conversation right now. A lot of people are looking to get off of Elementor for odd reasons, like performances, which is kind of odd to me because like I'm getting really good performance speeds now with Elementor. So yeah, it's a whole conversation. Just
add to that, stick with one tool.
Yes.
Don't be like, I'm a Elementor, Gutenberg, Bricks, like whatever other tools there are. Learn one tool really well, get really good at it, because at the end of the day, your clients aren't going to care.
Yeah.
They just want a website. So if you can deliver a really good website using whatever tool you use, it's going to make your life easier, because you're not going to have to remember how to do things in one tool versus the other tool.
Or like you got to keep up with the bugs too.
Yeah.
Like I update all of our client websites, and I know all of the current bugs right now with Elementor, but I'm not going to know the current bugs with Gutenberg and Bricks or whatever. So I just learn one tool. That's what I recommend. Yeah.
Master one thing at a time. That's my philosophy. That was what has gotten me to the level that I'm at. If I have made so many mistakes on this journey in web design, but the one thing I did right was sticking to one thing until I got really good at it. Out of those three, I mean, I love Bricks, but Elementor is a lot easier entry point for anybody. But, just master one thing, move on to the next. But definitely make sure one of those is HTML and CSS. Don't want to skip the fundamentals. You got to learn the fundamentals as well. You really want
to be good. I think it was you that said, and we agree too, you got to know CSS. Like CSS, I think, was it you that said like 90% of things can be fixed with CSS? That is definitely the case. Like inspect the code, figure out where something is. Like if something doesn't have a certain padding or margins, CSS can fix that. So master CSS, and you're going to pull your hair out. See, this is what happens when you do CSS for 30 years. You've got no hair left. It's all freaking gone.
Yeah, you're gonna go crazy on some things, and I've like heard a few times recently when somebody shared that they spent the last 3 days just like banging their head against a keyboard trying to figure something out, and they felt like they lost 3 days. But like I had to counter, like you just gained 3 days of real experience, because while you're trying to figure it out, you found out everything that doesn't work, and I'm sure you learned so much along the way. This is how we learn web development and get good at it. You got to go a little crazy.
Yeah, it's one reason why, like, if some people try to reach out to me for, like, if I create a complicated video on my YouTube, people will ask really complicated questions thinking that I can offer free tech support. I can't do that because you need to learn how to do it. Like, what are you going to do? Ask me every time you need something? I'm like, you got to learn how to do this stuff. Like, I didn't know how to do any of this crap. I mean, you just got to learn it,
I feel lucky that I'm older. I'm 41, so I've been doing this a long time, since before there was CSS. I think it's a lot easier to be a web designer now because the tools are so much better. But I feel lucky that I learned all the fundamentals. Like I had to hand code everything, and I really learned it because, like you said, I made so many mistakes, and I would bang my head against the wall for 3 days trying to figure out why something wasn't working in Internet Explorer versus Firefox. It's like people don't have to do that anymore.
Right, right. For anybody brand new just getting started off, like just starting off, we're lucky we got these tools that make it so easy to like go in and build a
Mhm.
website, but you have to give yourself a minimum of 1 year where you are
Yeah.
just grinding away and only focused on learning and being able to develop the skill.
Mhm.
Because, like 90% is like understanding CSS, the other 10% is learning how to Google. Now, Googling is a skill. You got to learn how to
It is.
find the solution. It really is. And once you learn that skill and you get good at Googling, you know how to find that solution, you know how to look for the right queries, then you are unstoppable. Then you can figure
Or
out
I would say
anything.
like ChatGPT more than Googling these days for sure. Like that's
Right,
where you get all
right.
the answers. Yeah.
What do they say? Like you put in your 10,000 hours to become an expert,
The master or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
something like that. So it's true. You got to put in your hours.
All right, so Ivan's got one. Okay, I'm gonna try. I am starting to doze off right now. This is usually the time I am
Yeah, hour
like
and a
going
half.
to
That's
bed.
about when you yeah.
Bro, I'm gonna try, brother. I'm gonna try. Okay. Ivan asked, I have a question. Whenever you sell a site, do you sell it with an accompanying fee or just a deliverable? How do they improve or maintain the company's cash flow? I
I don't
think
think
I
I
would
quite
need to
understand.
ask follow-up questions to
I don't
understand it.
understand
But
the
I will just
question.
answer one thing really quickly. When I sell the site, it's a deliverable. We make that clear in the very beginning of the project. This is what we're going to deliver for this price. We
Mhm.
make it really clear what those expectations are. A, B, and C. They're outlined in
Mhm.
bullet points, and this is what we do at this price point. We never charge on anything else. I don't like to be surprised with extra fees, so I would never do that to anyone else because I'm
Yeah.
looking for long-term relationships. And then for the future, I love to work long-term with clients as part of their business as they grow, because as they grow, we get to grow with them.
Mhm.
Hmm.
All right, I think we only got like one or two more. Okay, someone says they love Moxie. Oh yeah, Veronica, Moxie. That's one of those ones I wish I did pick up on AppSumo. I should have got it. It turned out to be really good. Okay, I think Floyd has a question, and this one's for me. Dude, I am going banana monkey style this year. Like this,
Mhm.
like I said that in the last stream. So first off, I got a stream coming every single week this year. That's my commitment for the year. But I'm going to aim to do a tenth of the content Ron creates. So if I could do that, that means I'll have like 1,000 videos. No, I was kidding. No, for real though, I am like I took a lot of time last year to work on myself personally, and to get myself, yeah, I had to do a lot of healing,
Mhm.
a lot of work, and now like all that work's been done, and I got tons of energy, clarity, and I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to just going crazy this year, creating content, and definitely around Figma. Also, I am starting the production of a web designer's Figma masterclass course coming up this month. That's going to be coming out release inside of March. I'm going to be sharing that with everybody. It's going to be strictly for web designers. So I'm going to be doing a Figma course. I'm going to be doing a Bricks course. And that Bricks course, that one's just going to be for our pro community. But I'm going to be creating tons of content on that around, on YouTube as I'm creating those, because I'm just going to be locked in the zone. Like I'm
Mhm.
literally going to be chained to my camera and desk and just like going crazy.
Mhm.
I'm ready though.
Yeah, I know how that is. Yeah, I got like you probably have the same. I have a whole list of videos I want to make. I just have to get motivated to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting rid of that perfectionism. I'm going to start like some of them are going to be long, I'm just not going to worry about all that perfectionism stuff. Other
Mhm.
things too I'm starting to do is turn over a lot of work. So, I scaled back like outsourcing team members and all that stuff because I had to take personal time off. When you hire people and you have a team and others, for me, it's one of the most stressful things I would ever do because I care more about them than I do my own well-being. Like I go to sleep and all I care about is, can I make sure, they get like that they're taken care of all the time.
Mm.
But now like I did the work I needed to do, and I'm getting ready to hand off stuff. I'm really excited. I'm going to be sharing. Do you know? I think we need to have another live stream on that too, man. Because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like, yeah. Okay. I'm trilling off. Okay, we're almost done. Let's wrap this up. Soul asks, what is your advice for managing or handling licenses for someone who just started? I'll let you guys take that.
Is that so? The licensing, you should, as the developer, if you're going to be hosting the websites, you should, yeah, you should maintain the licenses. So I'm not quite sure like how big of a scale you're talking, but like in our situation, our clients never pay for a license for Elementor, Crocoblock, some of the big ones. But if they're doing like a WooCommerce weird customized thing and they need 4 plugins to do some weird complicated thing, they're paying for that. So you got to make it very clear which plugins that you offer as the hosting environment, which is another plus of why you would want to host with someone like us rather than go to like hosting or any of those other ones, because we throw in the Elementor for free. We throw in the Crocoblock. So that's added value. So that would be my answer is have some core plugins and licenses that you just offer because you're a good guy. Just do that.
I feel like too, a lot of the plugins offer like developer licenses. So that's the one, like we have a developer license for Elementor. We have one for Crocoblock and some other plugins. So that's why we include them, because we already have those licenses. So that could be something that you want to look into as well.
And only if they host with you. So if they leave, most of the time I'm pulling the license then. I'm like, all right, you deal with this. You're not getting a free license, but
yeah. As soon as you're able to, don't wait too long. Just like Mark said with the hosting, try to like start early on. That's one of the mistakes I made is I waited way too long to start setting up maintenance plans. Start those early on, start building your recurring revenue. And then you could start to offer your developer license like for like Elementor and all that as part of your maintenance. And this is a great way to add value, but to keep clients long term. I mean, there's so much that goes into this, but then again, the one-off licenses, like Mark said, definitely they have to pay for those. All right. Okay, I think that is it. How are you guys feeling? This is long.
This is a long hour and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I learned about it. I told her, I was like, one time we did WP creators about this. You start to kind of around the 2-hour mark, you start to kind of do, it's hard to be so attentive the whole time,
Yeah.
That's why.
I don't know how some do it. I listen to a lot of every day I listen to podcasts in the morning, like always like self-development, business development. I've been listening to Rich Roll lately a lot on like, some healthy stuff, but he'll be in these very intensive intellectual conversations and they go for like 3 hours long.
I know.
Okay. And then he promotes the supplements. I'm like, I gotta get those supplements. So whatever he's doing,
I think they work. Yeah,
it's working.
How do you feel? You're tired too? Yeah, hour and a half.
Honestly, I didn't realize that it was going on that long. To me, it went fast. I do kind of need to pee, but I'm okay.
Okay. I won't hold you anymore. I know that feeling. But I'm so glad to hear though that it went that way, because when I see the time goes and I didn't really realize that it was that long, like I was planning an hour, I was like, that means it was good. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to the both of you. You're both amazing. I'm so grateful that you came on, and I look forward to doing a lot more collaborations. I saw one of your live streams recently on your predictions for 2025, and it was awesome. It's just like, you guys bring the chemistry. You guys have like different aspects to the whole process and web design, and it's just a wonderful combination. I'm really grateful, and I do look forward to hanging out with you guys when you come to Thailand for sure.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
For sure. So well, I guess this is a good segue to wrap it up. Before we go, can you let everybody know how to find you. That way they could go ahead and learn more about you and also follow your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/Wicky Design, or you can go to our website, wickydesign.com. We have lots of free resources. All of our videos that we put on YouTube are also on our website, and we have some free downloads and stuff that you can purchase there too. So check out what we do.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot more live streams this year. So yeah, if you want to subscribe to our channel, if you want to do more live streams, yeah.
Awesome. And there are links in the description of this video. Definitely go check them out. And for everybody that stuck with us this whole time, thank you. I'm so glad you guys were here. I love the questions, the chat. The chat, I think this is what I love most about the live streams, when people start to connect and interact. To me, that's special. So I'm really grateful for all of you. And we'll be back with something again next week. That's it, guys. Thank you.
All righty. Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.